Welcome to the Board of Fire Commissioners meeting for November 12th. It's 9 a.m. And we will do a salute to the flag. Chief Moore, would you be kind enough?
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Of course. Alexis Hill, Chair, is absent. Vice Chair Jean Herman.
Here.
Commissioner Clark is absent. Mariluz Garcia.
Here.
Isn't my phone. And Commissioner Andriola is
Present.
here. Mike Large is our district attorney. Chief Moore?
Present.
Okay. Madam, you have a quorum.
It is item number 3, public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Board of Fire Commissioners' agenda. The district will also hear public comment during the individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the Board of Fire Commissioners as a whole. Madam Clerk?
We have one speaker, Joanne Moore.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Joanne Moore, disclosure, the wife of your fire chief. He doesn't know I'm here today. You all know that he announced his retirement coming up in the end of January, 45 years of fire service. And as you can imagine, I'm going through boxes and boxes of 45 years of service and came across this very old newspaper dated November 28, 1997, in which then Avon Fire Chief was given by Governor Romer of Colorado the state's Fire Leadership Award for his work in assembling a mutual aid agreement, much like he did here. He assembled it back in 1996 or 7, and 23 agencies, along with 11 different counties, signed on immediately. But there was one fire department that didn't sign on right away. They had 2 fire stations and a few dozen full-time firefighters. They didn't think they would need it, so they didn't sign on. But with a never-give-up attitude and constant conversation, eventually the Vail Fire Department signed on to the mutual aid. Less than a year later, the Vail Fire Department was the first to call for mutual aid when an eco-terrorist group hiked up Vail Mountain, armed with accelerants, and set the mountain on fire. Burning to the ground, the 2 Elk restaurant, those of us that knew the Vail Mountain very well, burnt it to the ground, almost a homicide. A man was sleeping inside at the time. All this acreage, all these, like dominoes, these chairlifts burned to the ground. But the mutual aid worked beautifully 27 years ago and stopped the fire. What could have been absolutely devastating with burning down homes and facilities on the mountain, getting into the Vail Village, which was very nearby, would have been devastating to a community. But the mutual aid stopped. Much like the Davis fire and yesterday's fire, surprise, another one, the mutual aid works. Different uniforms, different badges, no imaginary lines or boundaries, everybody coming together with their unique talents, skills, different placards on their trucks, and it works. Mutual aid works. And with that, applauding to all these guys. It's just amazing what they can do. And to you, Commissioners, I want to thank you on behalf of the families for making sure that they have what they need. So at
This consent items.
Item number 5 is consent items, items A, B, and C, D, and E.
For possible action,
I'll move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you very much.
We need to have public comment on, see if there's public comment on
Public
that.
comment, yes.
There is nobody signed in.
Thank you. So now we will We'll have the vote. Right, and so we're calling for a vote. And all those in favor, please.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Uh, uh, I'm sorry. I get so nervous when I'm here. It's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. It passes. The bill passes. The whole consent item passes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll step down to the podium for our resolutions on items 6, 7, and 8. And Mr. District Attorney, I can take all those in
Okay.
succession, right?
Yes, you can.
Very good. Madam Chair, the Davis fire was probably the most complex fire that this fire district has fought since we stood up again in 2012. And after that fire, we had a number of agencies, local community groups, and businesses step up to help us celebrate the fact that we preserved many, many homes in this community. So these 3 items will be a resolution of thanks, starting with one for Greater Nevada Field, and I believe Mr. Edelston is here. Would you mind coming up, sir? I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Eric Edelstein, who's the president of the Reno Aces, who generously donated the use of Greater Nevada Field for our celebration. This is Resolution TM 06-2024 to recognize and express appreciation to the staff of Greater Nevada Field. Whereas a wildfire known as the Davis Fire started in Davis Creek Park in Washoe Valley on September 7th, 2024, and whereas first responders from across the state responded through mutual aid and automatic aid agreements, and whereas United Way, the American Red Cross, and Nevada Peer Support, in addition to many non-first responder agencies, responded and donated to those in need. And whereas Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District held an event called Evening of Gratitude on October 15th, 2024, to show appreciation to the first responders and encourage donations for United Way, the American Red Cross, and Nevada Peer Support Network. And whereas Greater Nevada Field graciously donated the use of their facility and their staff to include services and supplies in support of the event. And whereas on behalf of all members of Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District and the Board of Fire Commissioners, we extend our sincere appreciation and thanks to Greater Nevada Field for their generosity and expertise in the coordination of the event, Evening of Gratitude. Now, therefore, with grateful appreciation, be it resolved by the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District Board of Fire Commissioners to express its heartfelt thanks to the staff of Greater Nevada Field for their generous support of the district and the community, dated this 12th day of November, 2024. Oops. Thank you, Eric. If you wouldn't mind just hanging out. Just have a seat. Next is to express an appreciation to NV Energy, and Scott Lucas, are you here? There you are. Mr. Lucas is the Fire Management Officer for NV Energy, and I can say that it was a pleasure working with NV Energy through the Davis fire. They were in the command post. We were having constant communication with them because of the extent of the power disruption to the community and the large effort to try to get that power back on. It was a pleasure to have NV Energy represented in the incident command post. They were then a sponsor of the fireworks show at the Evening of Gratitude, so we're very, very thankful for their financial support. This is Resolution TM 07-2024 to recognize and express appreciation to NV Energy. Whereas a wildfire known as the Davis Fire started in Davis Creek Park in Washoe Valley on September 7th, 2024. Whereas first responders from across the state responded through mutual aid and automatic aid agreements. And whereas Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District held an event called Evening of Gratitude on October 15th, 2024 to show appreciation to first responders and encourage donations for United Way, the American Red Cross, and the Nevada Peer Support Network. Whereas on behalf of all Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District members and the Board of Fire Commissioners, we sincerely thank NV Energy for their dedication and support during the Davis Fire and their contribution to the Evening of Gratitude. Now, therefore, with grateful appreciation, be it resolved by the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District Board of Commissioners to express its heartfelt thanks to the staff of NV Energy and their generous support of the district and the community. Dated this 12th day of November, 2024. Scott, thank you. I thought we were done with NV Energy, but yesterday proved me wrong. And finally, this is Resolution 08-2024 to recognize and express appreciation to Grand Sierra Resort. Grand Sierra Resort has been, sorry, Eric. This is Mr. Andrew Diss, who's Senior Vice President for Meridiello Gaming.
Hey, Chief, we got a couple more people.
Pleased to meet you. Thank you for being here. We really depended on Grand Sierra Resort to help house the people that were displaced throughout the Davis Fire, and they were a very generous contributor towards the fireworks show at the Evening of Gratitude. So we'd like to express our thanks to Grand Sierra Resort. Again, this is Resolution 08-2024 to recognize and express appreciation to Grand Sierra Resort. Whereas a wildfire known as the Davis Fire started in Washoe Valley, south of Reno on September 7th, 2024. And whereas first responders from across the state responded through mutual aid and automatic aid agreements. And whereas Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District held an event called Evening of Gratitude on October 15th to show appreciation to first responders and encourage donations for United Way, the American Red Cross, and the Nevada Peer Support Network. And whereas Grand Sierra Resort graciously donated funds for a fireworks display at the event and provided close coordination and support during the fire. And whereas on behalf of all Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District members and the Board of Fire Commissioners, we sincerely thank Grand Sierra Resort for the contribution to the Evening of Gratitude. Now, therefore, with grateful appreciation, be it resolved by the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District Board of Fire Commissioners to express its heartfelt thanks to the staff of Grand Sierra Resort for their generous support of the district and the community. Dated this 12th day of November, 2024.
May we take, oh, I'm sorry.
So, gentlemen, if you join me in the well.
Shall we go down for photos?
Gentlemen, if you join me down here, Commissioners. I'll just stage you here. That's the person in the middle with the commissioners.
Madam Chair, that is an action item, 6, 7, and 8. And for the record, there is no public comment, but we will need a motion and
Okay.
a vote.
I'll move to approve.
And
Second.
Thank you very much. And so we will now vote on that. On number 9, International Association.
No, we need to do a joint motion of
Of 6, 7, and 8.
6, 7, and
6, 7, and 8.
Right, okay. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have it unanimously approved.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 9 is the International Association of Firefighters Local 2487 report. And Mr. Clauser is standing up to come.
All right, good morning, Jim Clauser, Local 2487 President. I'm going to do my typical PSA thing, which I've sort of just started trending doing. We like to remind the public that in the middle of these incredibly dangerous dynamic situations, riding your quads and golf carts and whatever through our fire scenes is not only incredibly dangerous to you, it's also extremely hazardous to our personnel. So I get it that you're excited and you want to get back to your homes to take care of pets and get medicine and get personal items, and we appreciate that, and we will bend over backwards to facilitate that and make sure that happens for you. But we need to help be in control of that so that you don't get hurt. So if you abuse the Washoe County Sheriff's trust and abuse our trust and we let you back into your home, we would appreciate it if you didn't then start to ride your quads around the fire scene in the middle of our apparatus. So we had a very close call last night that we would like to avoid in the future if at all possible. So please help us help you. Again, we will bend over backwards to get you whatever you need with your home or your pets or anything, but you can't try to do that yourself, and please don't rush around inside our scenes. To the individual or individuals that was out in the forest trying to help us yesterday, again, while I appreciate that you used to be a professional, you being in the middle of our fires in an active fire scene with bulldozers and everything else going through there is incredibly dangerous to you and incredibly distracting to me, who is trying to focus our resources on actually putting the fire out, because now I have to worry about either controlling you or removing you, whether you're conscious or not. So please, please, please do not try to help us on these fires. I get that you were a 30-year professional at some point. We have no way of verifying that, so we don't know who you are. Please, please, please do not jump in and try to just start taking our hose lines and fighting fire in the middle of the fire. We'd ask that you refrain from doing that. On a positive note, the Truckee Meadows Firefighters Association is starting a toy drive. And we want to express our gratitude toward the district for helping facilitate this. This is sort of a spur-of-the-moment thing. We'd also like to thank Renown for their participation in this. We just got their thumbs up yesterday. I think the intent will be made a lot more clear as we do our public official announcement. But the idea is to have toy drops at all the stations, which we will then present to the children at the Renown Hospital. And we'll make a thing of that. I think Adam's already aware of that. A lot of our personnel are just starting to get the ball rolling. It's in its infancy right now, but we think we've timed this right, where we can get this thing going in time for Christmas and have a very successful program. So thank you to everyone involved. We're keeping fingers crossed that this thing will go off without a hitch and maybe be something we can do every year, and this will be our inaugural year. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we move on to item 10, the fire chief's report.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I'd like to have Deputy Chief Kettering address the fire that we had yesterday. This was as potentially dangerous as was the Davis fire, and again, I'll commend my staff for their extra hard work until we could get lots of resources there.
Good morning. For the record, Chris Kettering, Deputy Chief, Truckee Meadows Fire. Call-in fire, very similar to our fall and winter fires, which could be very catastrophic. We have the Call-in fire, the Pine Haven fire, Little Valley, Washoe Drive, all this time of the year into the winter, all wind-driven, all in the buoy areas where yesterday we could have lost a lot more homes. The fire stands at 61 acres. All evacuations have been lifted last night. Road closures were lifted last night. The power lines were all restored, or power was restored in the area, except for 2 residential lots that were heavily impacted where our resources are in there today. And once they're completed with what they need to do, they'll go ahead and coordinate with NV Energy to get power restored to those 2 lots. Currently, we have 115 line personnel on the ground today from approximately 20 different fire agencies. We have the Gold Ranch Fire, the Davis Fire, and once again, we have the Callahan Fire, sorry. We requested support from all of our cooperators, and once again, they showed up. And without their assistance, this fire could have been a lot different yesterday. We did lose 1 residential structure, 2 barns, and 1 gazebo. Resources are going to remain on scene today, continuing to mop up. And then this evening, we're going to start a transition plan so we can release all of those cooperators back to their agencies. And then Truckee Meadows will go ahead and continue to mop up and patrol over the next few days. What's great is you've seen in the weather, where even though we're getting a little wind today, it'll get tested. But we're supposed to bring more rain throughout the week, and that'll help us expedite what we need to do. I just want to take a moment to thank the cooperating agencies outside the fire departments that assisted yesterday: NHP, Washington County Sheriff's Office, Search and Rescue, Washington County Parks and Library, NDOT, obviously Washington County Emergency Management, and NV Energy. I'm sure I'm missing a few, but without all their support, this would not have been as successful as it was yesterday. So any questions for me?
How did it start?
It's still under investigation. They were out there again this morning where the point of origin was.
Were there any injuries or?
We did have 1 reported firefighter injury, but no civilian injuries.
Okay, thank you for the quick response. And boy, like everyone's phone, I happened to be with a few people, all of us were like, woo, woo. So it definitely works in terms of having immediate alerts. And I think the communication was really well done. And I wanted to commend that in terms of knowing when the evacuation was put into place and then when it was lifted and just even in between. So thank you for the great communication and for all the efforts for everyone. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you for the update. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I agree. I like the list of partners. I agree 100%. I think Red Cross and Regional Animal Services, I couldn't sure if you mentioned this, but an amazing response from everybody. I think the public comment from Mrs. Moore this morning was very moving and highlights the power of mutual aid. And I think that's exactly what played out yesterday. So whether it's a long-term event like the Davis Fire or residents are displaced for a day like Callahan Fire, I think mobilizing these multiple agencies quickly to knock down these fires is incredibly commendable. Yesterday's fire could have been a lot worse, and I do feel for the community members who did lose their home, and I'm grateful that we have such a generous and giving community. So if there's opportunities for us to give back, please let us know. And last but not least, happy Veterans Day to all of those who stepped up to serve our country, but especially those who are serving in our fire service as well as have served previously in our military service. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Kettering. Just briefly, capital projects update. In a couple of agenda items coming up, you'll either approve or disapprove the construction contract for Hidden Valley, which has been a long time in coming, and I'm glad that it's up for your consideration. It will negate the need to name this fire station the Charlie Moore Memorial Fire Station. But so I'm glad to see this. I'm glad to see this station finally moving forward, and we have about, I think, a 9-month construction window on it. Do want to announce that we'll have a groundbreaking on 10 a.m. on November 20th. And so the State Investment Bank, the SIB, needs to finally approve the resolution that you're going to consider this afternoon. So then we're off to the races by this Thursday. Automatic aid, the board may recall that you approved a new automatic aid agreement with the City of Reno. We've had a little bit of delay in flipping the switch on that, because the maps in the CAD system were a little more complex than we anticipated, so that should be ready to go live on the date that I expressed in the chief's report. Green waste update, we still have lots of citizens that are taking advantage of this. The final number was 1,156 citizens that brought their green waste for recycling. And the curbside shipping program now is picking up. We had 203 people, houses that asked for services there, and that's where we go directly to the individual's lot and ship it on site. So I'm very pleased with the citizens using this program to develop their defensible space around the house. And in the Davis fire, we saw how defensible space worked. We also saw that in the Callahan Ranch fire yesterday. We have lots of photographic examples of where defensible space saved homes. So I want to see this program continue for as long as we can possibly make this happen, because it is very, very effective. And finally, the post-Davis fire restoration. Now that the fire is over, Brett, would you mind addressing just briefly the efforts that will take place?
Sure. Thank you. Good morning. Brett Taylor, WUI Community Coordinator for the record. So for the Bear report, that's a Forest Service product that they have completed. That's available. They're, I think, rolling that out with some, to get more public engagement with that report. The Bear report only works for Forest Service land. Their only recommendations were to stabilize some roads and some potential soil stabilization into the future. So not between them and then the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, they were the assessment on the private and county land. Both those reports didn't find a high degree of erosion potential on the Davis fire. So there's not, that report will be shared with us, the Army Corps report will be shared with us this week, and so we'll actually get an idea of what their recommendations are for soil stabilization into the future. But the good news preliminarily is that the fires area of the Davis fire is not going to just slide off the mountain like a lot of fires happen. There's a lot of actually good understory fire that retained a lot of the large trees, vegetation, so that stabilizes the soil and keeps that ground to intact, and we don't see a sloughing off the hill. So the things that we're still working on to try to help the area rehabilitate, one is reintroduce good plants, not let the invasives encroach on the area. So we're assisting Division of Forestry with aerial seeding over all the private and county land and into the Fed land if we can. We're pursuing HMGP funding, so hazard mitigation grant funding through FEMA to get some more erosion control barriers, to install log erosion barriers, and to remove any hazard trees that could pose risk to the public on the trails that are in there, as well as around the private residences. Burned trees tend to fall, so we're...
Answer questions about our response going back to August.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, item number 11 is a recommendation to approve a health benefits program for district employees, dependents, and retirees for an estimated total cost to the district of $2.5 million.
Program for district employees, dependents, and retirees, and authorize the chair of the Board of Fire Commissioners to execute all insurance contracts and service agreements pertinent to the approved health benefits program for calendar year 2025.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Having a first and a second, we will now take a vote on this action. And all ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So this is a majority rules kind of thing, and I'm sorry the way I am, but, and so this passes.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. On to item 12. Item 12 is a recommendation to adopt Resolution TM 09-2024, authorizing the issuance of Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District's Capital Improvement Revenue Bond Series 2024 in the maximum principal amount of $5,252,000 to finance the the acquisition of properties for stations and administration authorized by NRS 474.511, including fixtures, structures, stations, other buildings, and sites therefore, and appurtenances and incidentals necessary, useful, or desirable for any such facilities, including all types of property therefore, and providing the effective date hereof, and delegate to the fire chief authority to finalize the terms of the bond upon approval by the loan by the board of the State Infrastructure Bank in November. And Mr. John Peterson and Cindy Vance, our Chief Fiscal Officer, are here to answer any questions, and it might be useful to explain kind of how this is working because it's a little complex, so.
Good morning, John Peterson with J&A Consulting Group. For the record, I just want to echo what Chief Moore said. This is a proposal for Truckee Meadows Fire to issue a bond not to exceed $5,252,000. This bond will be secured by 15% of the district's receipt of statewide consolidated taxes. This is similar to the bonds that the district has issued in the past. As Chief mentioned, this bond, or the proceeds of this bond, will be used to construct and improve the facility over in Meadow Valley. Just before I kind of dive into the details, I really want to say thank you to Eric Jimenez with the State Infrastructure Bank. We've been working with them. He's been very accommodating and an excellent partner to work with on this proposed financing. In terms of this process, assuming that the board approves this bond, our next step would be to go to the State Infrastructure Bank. Their board meets next Monday. They would approve the loan, and from there we would expect that closing would occur the first week of December. The terms of the loan are that it's a 25-year loan. Final payment is in June of 2049, excuse me. The interest rate is 3.11%, which is, in my opinion, lower than we would be able to get if we were to do the financing on our own. Again, thank you to the State Infrastructure Bank for providing these low cost of funds. Annual payments are approximately $310,000 a year. There is a half a year payment that will be due the current fiscal year of approximately $155,000. Interest rate is fixed. It's not subject to change in the future. And we do have the ability, if market conditions ever go back to what they were back in 2020 or 2021 with really low rates, we do have the opportunity to refinance. So we have plenty of flexibility with this financing. And so I would just pause there and see if there are any questions or anything that I failed to cover.
Does the board have any questions? No, thank you.
Oh, and I apologize. One other thing. I spoke with the district's bond counsel, Kendra Follett. Normally, the Board of Fire Commissioners has 5 members. Because there are only 3 members present, we will need a unanimous approval of the 3 that are present in order to move this project forward. So I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you, I have no additional information. I do know that one of the things that we would ask is the signatures on the resolution, if we could get those fairly quickly, because we will need to take those to the Infrastructure Bank on Monday and actually provide them in advance if possible.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I don't have a question, but I do want to thank everyone. I know that the residents and constituents of Hidden Valley are super excited about this, and I'd like to thank everybody for their work in working with the State Infrastructure Bank, and thank the State Infrastructure Bank and all the participants that made this happen. And I look forward to the upcoming vote, but I do appreciate you clarifying that there's a possibility, if in fact there are interest rate opportunities that would be less than what the 3% plus, which is still in and of itself great. I was going to ask that question, so thank you for being proactive and sharing that. And thank you, Chief Moore, again, for all your hard work on that. And the residents, I can tell you, are super excited about it. So I think you'll have a well-attended, I hope, opportunity on November 21st. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So is there any public comment on
There is no
this?
public comment.
Okay. May I have a motion motion on this item?
Madam Chair, I move to adopt Resolution TM09-2024, authorizing the issuance of the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District's Capital Improvement Revenue Bond, Series 2024, in the maximum principal amount of $5,252,000 to finance the acquisition of properties for stations and administration authorized by NRS 474.511, including fixtures, structures, stations, other buildings, and sites, therefore, and, how do you pronounce that? Appurtenances?
Appurtenances.
You learn something new every day. And incidentals necessary, useful, and desirable for any such facilities, including all types of property, and delegate to the fire chief authority to finalize the terms of bond upon approval of the loan by the board of the State Infrastructure Bank in November.
Second.
Thank you. So, to approve this, we will say aye.
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 Aye. So it looks like we have the motion passes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. And we'll sign those today.
Great.
As
Thank
soon
you.
as we get a hold of the other member here. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Now that we have a loan, we just need a contractor and somebody to build it. Item 13 is a recommendation to approve an owner-CMAR construction agreement between Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District and Plenium Builders Incorporated to provide construction manager at risk CMAR construction services for the TMFPD Station 37 Apparatus Bay Addition project located at 3255 West Hidden Valley Drive with a total project cost of $5,025,938.
Is there any public comment on this?
There is none.
I might mention that the president of Plenium is here if you want to ask him any questions, or Mr. Basta, if you want to say a
Certainly.
few words, certainly welcome to.
Good morning, Toby Basta with Plenium Builders. Just wanted to add on to what Chief Moore said. The CMAR agreement that we are talking about here, the pricing was arrived at competitively. A lot of subcontract bidders. We actually did develop the project. Actually came in at below budget or under budget, and we're excited to get started here and break ground in a couple of weeks. And it's been a great process. I think several years in the making, and we're excited to break ground and get going if that's your wish.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for him? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
May I have a motion on this item?
Public comment, Madam Vice Chair.
Okay.
There is none.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve as presented.
Thank you. May I?
Second.
Thank you very much. And by saying aye, we will, for approval, please do.
Aye.
Aye as well. So this motion passes. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Vice Chair, if I may take items 14 and 15 together because they're somewhat related.
I'll let you do that.
All right. Item 14 is a recommendation to accept a grant from the Bureau of Land Management in the amount of up to $767,939.33 to fund hazard fuels mitigation in the East Washoe Valley. Item 15 is a recommendation to approve a subaward agreement between Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District and Carson City Fire Department for funding from a Bureau of Land Management Community Fire Assistance Program in the amount of $227,957 to fund hazard fuels mitigation in North Carson City, and if approved, direct staff to make necessary budget adjustments. Madam Vice Chair, this was the grant that I mentioned a meeting or two ago that the BLM has given us money to do fuels reduction. It does tie into kind of the same fire hazard area as Carson City has in the north part of their city. So we'll be working with Carson City and tying both of our projects in from Washoe Valley down to Carson City. So with your approval, we have the staff ready to go on this, and we'll start making plans to do the work in the springtime.
Is there public comment on either one of these?
There is no public comment on either item.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please?
I'll move to approve item 14 and 15 as presented.
Second.
Thank you, both of you. And so now we will take a vote on that. And the ayes? May I have
Aye.
ayes?
Aye.
Aye. So that both items pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Vice Chair, item 16 is possible closed session for the purpose of discussing labor issues with Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District per NRS 288.220. I need to ask if Commissioner Garcia is able to join that telephonically, Mr. DA.
Madam Vice Chair, what I'd recommend is that we move on to the Commissioner Fire announcements, the final item 17, and then hold the public possible closed session, and then open up above in chambers. And then we will open it up for final public comment after that is complete. So I would move on to item 17 before we hold the possible closed session.
I went through the chief's report a little too fast, so I need to go back to capital projects update and give you a little bit more. The Apple Fire Station, we're still using Plenium contractors to build Apple. We have gone through bid openings on that, and Plenium will give us a guaranteed maximum price for that fire station very, very soon, and we look forward to starting construction on that fire station sometime after the first of the year. Again, Apple Incorporated is funding most of that. The district is paying for a certain portion of that station, which includes an additional apparatus bay and, I believe, 2 additional bedrooms. So we do have some financial incentive and desire to want to see this thing get going. So that will be coming to the board here very, very soon. And for Washoe Valley Fire Station, I have been talking to the state of Nevada and our federal partners at the USDA to look again for more money to finance this station. Part of the program that they offer requires that I actually go through an RFP process for the architect. And so it may require us to go back through that process again. But nevertheless, as I mentioned in previous board meetings, the fire station is expected to be identical to Apple in most regards. And so there's not a lot of rethinking for an architect to go through and redesign the station. It's largely already done. So if we move through another architectural process, it will go very, very quickly. The site adaptations really are for the engineering for seismic and for snow loads and wind loads, but the architectural design will stay largely the same. So we'll be doing that shortly after the first of the year, and with any luck, we'll find more financing from our federal partners on that station. And I know there's a lot of people in Washoe Valley that are anxious to see construction start on that, as am I. So that's all I have on announcements.
Thank you, Chief. So we will be...
We'll be holding a closed session pursuant to NRS 288.220 to discuss labor issues with Truckee Meadow Fire Protection District and then we will open for final public comment up there. And so we will stand down and reconvene in closed session.
Thank you, sir.